CJ Stroud for our What's Wrong With segment. What's going on with CJ, Dave? Starting, Dave, with I hate everything about you.
Why do I love you? Okay, so what we kind of alluded to, I'm not so upset about the offensive play design or play calling. I think they didn't adjust very well, but I think the initial kind of game plan was okay. They just had nothing to build off of it. I want to talk about CJ Stroud's fundamentals. And as a former QB coach, this is something that rings near and dear to my heart. So we're going to talk. This is actually his touchdown throw to the out route over top of Marcus Jones to Christian Kirk, I do believe. It might be Hutchinson. We'll find out in a second now, won't we?
I think it was
Kirk. Yeah, I thought it was Kirk too. Okay, so what we're going to see first is I hate his drop. Now, I preach that your footwork is your timeline. You should be able to throw from any step in your drop, and your drop determines when and what route you're throwing to. It's your timeline. It's how you're throwing the ball. What Stroud does on his drop is kind of a horse gallop, which I don't like. You can't throw from there if both feet are in the air, and back in kind of when you're first teaching a QB is don't click your heels. The gallop is the next worst thing to get your drop back. And what we're going to see is if we kind of play it and if we stop it right at the drop, or right at the top of his drop here. So he takes the snap, he gallops. You can't throw from like this position, right? It's a kind of a gallopy thing. You can't throw from anywhere. And it tends to lead you to have an overstride and your legs be outside of your frame. So as he starts to cock this ball back, if we can kind of go a little slower to when he's about to release it. Yeah. His legs end up being outside of his frame. If you draw lines, it should be from where his legs are with his body. It should be fairly parallel. Like, obviously, that's tough to do. But if we look at his legs right now, it's a full-on A. Like, his left knee is way outside of his frame. I would call this an overstride and a pretty egregious one, which can tend to balls end up being shorted. And when you're overstriding like this, you also cannot fire from your hips, which I'll get to in some later clips. But the old school way of QB coaching was kind of a pitcher kind of style where you would launch off your back leg onto your front leg and completely do a weight transfer, right? Well, the nowadays QB, what we know now is you want to really twist your hips and fire from your hips, and everything else becomes an engine with it. You can't do that if you're overstriding like this. And that's where the galloping kind of lends you to. And if we also kind of see here, as he's about to throw it, or after he throws it, he doesn't end up with his knee bent. He ends up with his knee kind of straight, which is kind of a fadeaway, and it takes a lot of power off. Even with any sort of rotation, you don't get the velocity, you don't get the accuracy. It's kind of more of a placing rather than a rip. And this ball ends up kind of being a little behind his receiver, and Marcus Jones is almost able to make a play on that ball. Like, this should be an easy touchdown. But it ends up being kind of an almost contested ball. Kirk's still obviously able to make a catch. But just kind of this drop footwork fundamentals I don't like with such a clean pocket. Like, sometimes you got to make do with what you have. But in such a clean pocket, such a rhythm play, I don't like the footwork. I don't like what I'm seeing. I hate everything about it. Not the way I would teach it up. And we're going to see more of how this gets him in trouble later. But I thought it was a good view in a clean pocket to kind of see that. As we move on to I hate everything about you too. Okay. So we're going to see a very similar thing here. So he's going to do the gallopy drop back. He's going to have a receiver run kind of a dig or a really deep curl at the top of the screen here. So we're going to play it. He's going to gallop. And you can see right as he steps up, a huge overstride. You can see it at the top of his drop. He's already kind of in a bad spot. And then when he shuffles up, he doesn't reset you can see it right here. His feet are way outside of his frame. It's tough to do while I'm sitting down as well. I'm a very physical kind of explainer. And as he shuffles up, his feet just get more and more outside of his frame. It's tough to fire your hips from there. It's tough to be accurate, and that ball ends up being pretty short. Maybe that's by design to kind of lead him away from the defender, but I think that's a very generous take, and that receiver's got to sprint back, fall down to make that catch. And I think just fundamental wise, I don't like anything about it.
Dave, you have a lot better idea about kind of like old school or just quarterback fundamentals in general, but Stroud looks so old school here in the fact like he's not using his core to throw the ball. It just looks like it's all arm. Like you're saying, it's that kind of pitcher stance, and it just looks like he's kind of torquing from up here. And there's no core rotation at all, which I know is such a huge part of quarterback fundamentals now. It looks like he's just everything's just all arm.
That's a very great point and something that we're going to get to in a later clip. But that's exactly right. If you're not torquing and you're from your hips and you're not creating that kind of whiplash kind of force with your body, and it's just all arm, your legs are outside your frame, like I said, it's just all arm, and you're just kind of forcing it in there. You can't get the velocity, you can't get the accuracy, and that's why this ball ends up being short, inaccurate, and kind of gross, and it's a tough way to live and throw from. So this is exactly what you're talking about. Unfortunately, the sky cam is in the way here, but he's going to throw a fade route to his left, and that is just all arm. Like you already kind of played the clip here. Right here, the feet aren't as overstrident as they were in the previous clips, but there is just zero violence in his hips, and it's just all arm trying to force it in here. Now, this is a very tight window. I think he throws it on time. I'm not one who likes fades to be a 7-step drop, like kind of the old school. So we 2-step drop, 3-step, even a 1-step drop, I don't even mind. But a 2-3-step drop is kind of where I like to live with my fade balls. But with the safety over top, you can't really see it here because I'm really focusing on Stroud, and the corner trailing, you need to be able to get velocity on this ball. And where that velocity comes from is violence in your hips. And he just has none of that in his fundamentals right now. The ball ends up being thrown a little bit behind. The trailing DB is then able to catch up, make a diving play. Carlton Davis is a very aggressive physical corner. So I like the read on that, but that ball's got to be in the window with velocity, and you're not going to get that with just this kind of lackadaisical all-arm throw. If this were a layup, fine. Maybe you can just use all-arm and kind of loft it up there, but it's a tight window, and it needs to be thrown with velocity, and definitely not behind the receiver where Carlton Davis can make a play on it. So now we're going to look at a play design. So we're going to have, this is great play design, if I'm honest. Like, this is in the first quarter. What the New England defense likes to do is have their ends file in and then let their linebackers kind of fill and take contain on the outside. They do that a lot. And especially near the goal line, these linebackers are just going to come straight down for the run action. So we're going to have play action with the running back with Woody Marks. Stroud is going to boot to the right, and I'm glad that we can stop it before the play even starts, really. You kind of see number 81 on the left-hand side of the screen. He's going to be running a deep over route and get caught on Robert Spillane, who's put into conflict because he is run defending first. And he, as 81, Jaden Higgins, who I love, is going to run a deep over route, and he's just going to be so wide open, it's upsetting. Everyone bites down on the run. Robert Spillane's in conflict. 81's going to run right by him. That Anthony Jennings is not a great pass rusher. I love him. I love him as a run stopper, but he just gets kind of washed out and lost in the sauce of run defense. And if we throw that ball right there, or even if we wait like another couple seconds, that over route is just so wide open. Jalen Hawkins is the safety who's kind of caught in no man's land. I don't think his hips are in position to be able to make a play on that ball. But Stroud just, if he's afraid to throw that, he just kind of drops it off to the tight end here. It's a lack of a big play in a playoff game. He gets a couple yards, but eventually gets stopped at the 2-yard line. And I think, like, this is a touchdown. This is to tie the game at 7. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Like, let's read the play properly and make these easy throws to tie the game. I think this is great play design, if I'm being honest.
I would say you're right.
A couple plays later, still a chance to get in the end zone. We're going to have kind of a switch concept up top. We send a guy in motion. Once again, Higgins is going to run a corner route, and it's going to be so wide open. But he comes off of that read real quick. He has the happy feet, a very clean pocket, and then just kind of throws it to nowhere. And if you have that clean pocket, you can stay on your read side, which he initially looks to the left, but then he just looks like he's kind of getting scared that the defense is right there. But this is a cleaner pocket than I ever dealt with. I don't know about you, playing at a much better school than I did.
I had pockets that looked like this. It's nice and clean. He has lots of room to step up.
He has lots of. He doesn't even need to. His feet are in perfect position at that point, and then he awkwardly steps up, overstriding again. But if he rips that ball right there, right in rhythm, it's a touchdown. Yeah. You tied the game. Like, the play design is great.
Yeah, you're right.
But instead, he just kind of sails it into the end zone, and they end up having to settle for a field goal. And it's kind of these missed opportunities that led to them losing. Play design number 3. This is on the opening throw of the game. So what I kind of talked about with the play design 1 clip, we, as the Patriots, we like to be very aggressive with our D-line and kind of fill in, and then make our our outside linebackers more, or even our middle linebackers be more off-the-ball linebackers, be more contained players, which is great when you have Robert Spillane kind of doing it, or someone more athletic. But we're getting guys like Jelani Tavai, and in the previous clip, and in the previous 2 plays again clip, Anthony Jennings, more run stoppers. They get kind of lost in the sauce. So if you're going to see Jelani Tavai here, look at the play action and then get lost in the sauce, not knowing where to defend. He gets lost. And this throw needs to be a completion. Like, there's just absolutely no excuse for this. Everyone bites down on the run. We did a great job defending the run. We only allowed like 2.5 yards per carry. You can get the ground game going. So this needs to be your completion. And once again, even though you're on the run, you still need to fire from the hips. You still need to throw with authority and violence. This ball is behind. It's low. It's inaccurate. And it was just a omen of what was to come for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and this is great design again, because in this concept, Tavai's in conflict, right? Because he is the edge setter, but he's also the flat player, it looks like. So he's caught in no man's land here, right? And with this action flowing this way, Spillane would technically need to now work over top to get to Stroud. But he's kind of caught in no man's land too on basic boot rules, right? So this is great design again. And this is like, look at how open this is. You're right, Dave. Like, he has 5 yards of space. Like, this has to be completion. This has to be completion in high school, let alone in the pro game. This is open.
There's just no excuse. He doesn't. And if we, sorry to keep going back to this play, and kind of going back to our previous point, your previous point, as you mentioned, it's all arm. He has no rotation in his body, and he's throwing across his body. Like, typically when you're booting, you want to be attacking the line of scrimmage, everything kind of going towards your target. He keeps his left shoulder in front and kind of throws against his body like this. And that's just a tough way to live. He's kind of fading back as he throws it even. For what purpose? You are under zero duress. You have such a clean, naked boot here. This is exactly how you draw it up in the film room. You take your time, get your fundamentals right, set your table, set your platform, and throw it with authority. And this fade away, Caleb can do it, but Caleb is a monster. It's kind of the thing we see out of Patrick Mahomes, who can make this kind of throw. But the fadeaway, throwing across your body, behind, low, incomplete, it's unacceptable at this level. It's tough to watch. So as we kind of get into the second half here, we see kind of what you were talking about with the naked boots and Caleb Von Chason being a monster. We're going to see the naked boot to Stroud's left, our right, and we're going to see a very similar play where I believe number 19 is going to run the quick out. He boots, Chason's right in his face, but that ball needs to get thrown to the outside shoulder at the very least, or out of bounds so that Carlton Davis can't make a play on it. So he actually does.
Stroud, as Stroud is rolling here, does he
Mhm.
need to get his shoulders turned more?
You want to see his shoulders get turned more. You want to see him not be throwing off of his right foot like that. It
Yeah.
and then it just ends up being behind his receiver. Carlton Davis makes the play on the ball, interception. And you can, I think I cut it before, but you see Stroud's body language. He just ends up holding his helmet like this. He knows he fucked up. This is putting the ball in harm's way for absolutely no reason. It wasn't third down. There was no reason to throw this. So if you're not making plays in the pocket, you're not making plays out of the pocket, all due to poor fundamentals. It's a tough way to live. And my hot take is that I think Houston needs to make a top 100 pick on a QB now, because you need someone to either push Stroud or you need to start developing something moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing that, like he's got to go to the lab and work on his stuff. One thing I will say is a lot of those issues were problems with Trevor Lawrence the last couple of years, and he really made an effort of going to his quarterback coach and getting his things right. And as we saw down the stretch, um, things did get a lot better, and he was able to improve just with like one off season. So hopefully Stroud can do that, because I like, even though I'm a Jags fan and I don't like the Texans at all, it was fun watching him his rookie year. Super talented player. He had this certain swagger about him that he definitely doesn't have anymore. So maybe some sports psychology in there too for him will be helpful. But again, like the league is better with more good quarterbacks. So it really sucked to see this guy just totally flame out after such a great rookie season where we saw that he could do it, right? So um, the good thing about the fundamentals thing, Dave, as you know, these are all fixable things, right? So, and it looks like that's typically what's leading to a lot of his problems. So fixable stuff. So maybe a little bit of a bright side to look on for the Texans if he can get his things straight. But yeah, if he can improve, it's got to be a conversation. I agree.
So